Listen carefully. It is possible to care deeply about quality and still use that concern as permission to finish nothing. You call it preparation. You call it refinement. You call it maintaining a high standard. But if the message is already clear, why are you revising it again? If the work is useful, why are you still hiding it? If the deadline is approaching, why does your list of requirements suddenly become longer? You may not be protecting the quality of the work. You may be protecting yourself from the moment the work can be judged. That is the danger of perfectionism. It looks disciplined because it stays busy. It sounds responsible because it speaks the language of excellence. Yet it keeps moving the finish line. It says, one more revision, one more qualification, one more season of preparation. And while you wait for complete confidence, the assignment remains incomplete, the promise remains unfulfilled, and the people who could have benefited receive nothing. So we must ask a serious question. Can a standard be called excellent if it repeatedly produces delay? Is it excellence when commitments are broken, opportunities to serve are missed, and potential remains undeveloped? A bridge that is forever being improved but never opened carries nobody. Its unfinished greatness helps no traveler. Now, do not misunderstand me. The desire to do well is not your enemy. Craftsmanship matters. Preparation matters. Care matters. You should refine your ability. You should examine your work. You should correct what is irresponsible. But your desire for quality must be governed by purpose, or quality will become paralysis. Here is the governing principle. Excellence develops and delivers what has been entrusted. Perfectionism delays delivery to protect the ego. Excellence says, I will prepare faithfully, complete, responsibly, listen honestly, correct humbly, and grow continually. Perfectionism says, I must appear flawless before I can be seen. One serves the assignment, the other shelters the image. You do not need to abandon high standards. You need standards that allow you to contribute. You do not need less discipline. You need discipline that reaches completion. Prepare, finish, evaluate, correct, grow. That is how ability becomes useful and potential becomes service. But before you can break this pattern, you must identify what is truly governing your work. Beneath the same language of high standards, two very different motives can hide. Stewardship and image management. Stewardship and image management can wear the same clothing. Both can look careful. Both can speak about standards. Both can spend long hours preparing, but they are governed by different questions. Stewardship asks, what does this assignment require from me? Image management asks, what might this assignment reveal about me? That difference changes everything. Stewardship means accepting responsibility for what has been placed within your care. You develop it, you protect it from misuse, you refine it, but you also use it, release it, and deliver it for the purpose it was given. Image management arranges those same activities around appearance. It is less concerned with whether the work serves and more concerned with whether the worker appears competent, gifted, and beyond criticism. Listen, something entrusted to you cannot fulfill its purpose while permanently protected from use. Imagine being given a lamp and spending your life polishing it, improving it, and guarding it from every scratch but never turning it on. You may preserve its appearance, but you have betrayed its function. A lamp is not valuable merely because it is flawless. It is valuable because it gives light. The same is true of your ability. Your project must eventually be delivered. Your leadership decision must eventually be made. Your creative work must eventually leave the private room. Your promise must eventually become action. Preparation is honorable only when it prepares you to serve. Revision is useful only when it moves the work toward responsible release. Excellence, therefore, cannot be measured by the absence of every flaw. Excellence is faithfulness to the assignment, usefulness to the people it should serve, and willingness to keep developing after delivery. It does not mean careless work. It means purposeful work. It does not reject correction. It expects correction. It does not worship the first attempt. It completes the first responsible attempt so that the next one can become stronger. So examine your motive. When you add another revision, what requirement are you meeting? When you delay the decision, what responsibility are you protecting? When you refuse to release the work, whose purpose is being served? If preparation is clarifying, strengthening, and protecting the assignment, continue. But if preparation is merely sheltering your reputation, confront it. Stop asking, how can I avoid looking imperfect? Start asking, how can I faithfully deliver what has been entrusted to me? Because once image protection becomes the hidden goal, preparation has no natural ending. There will always be another possible improvement, another imagined objection, another reason to wait. And that is where perfectionism stops being a high standard and becomes a system of avoidance. And avoidance always has a fear beneath it. Perhaps you fear being judged. Perhaps you fear being misunderstood. Perhaps you fear disappointing people who expect much from you. Perhaps you fear discovering that your present ability is smaller than the potential you have imagined. You may even fear losing the identity of being naturally gifted, because finished work can be examined while hidden potential can remain legendary in your own mind. That is why unfinished work can feel so safe. As long as the book remains unwritten, it can still be brilliant. As long as the plan remains untested, it can still be flawless. As long as the decision remains unmade, you can still imagine that you would have chosen perfectly. Possibility is protected by privacy. Performance must face reality. Notice the cycle. Fear demands more preparation. More preparation brings temporary relief because you do not have to face exposure today. That relief rewards the delay. Then the deadline comes closer, the pressure increases, and the fear becomes stronger. So you prepare again, not because the assignment requires it, but because postponement has become your method of emotional protection. This is not responsibility. It is attempted control. Responsibility prepares for what can be influenced. The clarity of the message, the quality of the effort, the integrity of the process, and the readiness to respond. Perfectionism demands control over what cannot be guaranteed. Every opinion, every interpretation, every reaction, and every outcome. You cannot control all of that. If your finish line moves every time evaluation approaches, the problem is no longer the standard. The problem is exposure. You are not merely improving the work. You are trying to make criticism impossible. But meaningful participation always carries the possibility of visible imperfection. Leadership can be questioned. Creativity can be misunderstood. Decisions can require correction. Growth can be seen while it is still growing. Visible imperfection is not proof that you are inadequate. It is evidence that you have entered the arena of contribution. So confront the fear without condemning yourself. Fear may explain why you delayed, but it does not have authority over your next decision. Name it, limit it, prepare responsibly, then move. Stop calling every delay devotion. Stop moving the finish line. Stop demanding certainty that no honest assignment can provide. Let courage govern the moment preparation has done its work. Fear loses authority when the assignment becomes larger than the image of the person carrying it. Therefore, the next question is not, how will I look? The next question is, what have I been entrusted to deliver? What have you been entrusted to deliver? That question moves your attention away from self-consciousness and back toward purpose. You have been given ability, time, opportunity, responsibility, and some measure of influence. This should not make you feel guilty. It should make you awake. Potential is not an accusation. It is an invitation to develop what you carry and direct it towards service. But understand this, a gift is not fully stewarded because you possess it. It is not fully stewarded because you admire it. It is not even fully stewarded because you develop it privately. It must eventually become useful beyond you. Potential describes what could be. Purpose requires what could be to become contribution. Imagine a craftsman who owns a valuable tool. He keeps it polished. He protects it from pressure, impact, dust, and wear. Year after year, the tool remains beautiful, but it builds nothing. Was it preserved, or was its purpose defeated? Protection becomes waste when it prevents proper use. Some people are treating their ability the same way. They are protecting their talent from criticism, their leadership from disagreement, their ideas from examination, and their promises from the risk of imperfect execution. Yet while they wait to feel invulnerable, somebody remains unserved. Who is waiting for the decision you keep postponing? Who could benefit from the work you keep hiding? What responsibility remains unfinished while you wait for complete affirmation? What opportunity is passing while you demand a feeling called readiness? Purpose does not ask you to be invulnerable. It asks you to be faithful. Now, service is not an excuse for carelessness. Do not use purpose to justify poor preparation. Develop your ability, check your work, honor the people who will receive it, correct what is irresponsible. But remember why you are preparing. Not to create an untouchable image, but to release dependable value. This changes your identity. You are not performing to prove that you are worthy. You are working because what has been entrusted to you should become useful. You are not offering yourself for judgment. You are delivering an assignment for service. So prepare with humility, complete with courage, release what is responsible, let the work serve. Completion is no longer merely a threatening public test. It is an act of stewardship. It is the moment private capacity becomes public contribution. And service requires contact with reality, because work cannot become more useful through private imagination alone. To grow, it must leave your hands, fulfill its purpose, and return to you with information that preparation by itself can never provide. Before completion, assumptions dominate. After completion, reality can instruct. You may assume the message is unclear. You may assume the audience will reject it. You may assume one weakness will destroy the entire result. But until responsible work is released, much of what you call evaluation is only imagination, examining imagination. A completed version gives you information. It reveals what communicates clearly and what creates confusion. It shows what remains strong under use and what fails under pressure. It uncovers what people actually need, not merely what you assumed they needed. It identifies which skills are developed and which skills must now be strengthened. That information is not your enemy. It is part of your training. Think about navigation. A person can stand still for hours studying every possible road, but movement reveals what the map cannot. Once you begin, you discover whether you are moving in the intended direction. You see the obstruction. You notice the missed turn. You gain information because motion creates contact with reality. Standing still may prevent a wrong turn, but it also prevents arrival. Now, completion does not mean declaring that the work can never be touched again. A responsible version is not necessarily an untouchable version. Completion can close one cycle and open another. You prepare, you deliver, you observe, and then you improve. The first completed effort becomes a teacher for the second. Perfectionism misunderstands this process because it treats feedback as a verdict on identity. If the work is criticized, perfectionism hears, "You are inadequate." Excellence hears something different. Here is information that can help you steward this ability more effectively. Do not confuse correction of the work with rejection of the person. Private preparation is necessary. Practice before you perform. Think before you speak. Examine before you deliver. But preparation becomes incomplete when it refuses testing, delivery, and evaluation. You cannot learn how the work functions while keeping it permanently protected from function. So prepare enough to act responsibly. Then complete. Let the results speak. Let reality answer questions. Speculation cannot settle. Receive useful feedback after honest effort, not imaginary feedback before endless delay. Finishing is not the enemy of improvement. Finishing is one of improvement's necessary instruments. Completion turns assumption into evidence, fear into information, and potential into a process of development. But listen carefully. This is not an argument for careless speed. Releasing unfinished, irresponsible work is not courage. It is neglect. Excellence needs a quality boundary, one strong enough to protect the assignment, but clear enough to keep the assignment from becoming a prison. A quality boundary begins with a clear definition of ready. Do not misunderstand a minimum standard. It is not the least effort you can excuse. It is the defined threshold at which the work becomes responsible, useful, and suitable for its present purpose. Without that threshold, your standard can expand forever because nothing tells preparation when its assignment is complete. Before you begin, define 5 things. What outcome must this work produce? Who must it serve? What requirements are essential? What resources are actually available? When must it be delivered? Clarity before preparation prevents confusion during completion. Then separate essential quality from optional enhancement. The essential protects purpose. The optional improves presentation. The essential makes the message accurate, useful, and responsible. The optional changes the color, adds another feature, adjusts another sentence, or polishes something the audience may never notice. Optional improvements are not wrong, but when decoration repeatedly delays delivery, enhancement has become interference. Use 3 levels of review. First, what must be correct? These are the elements that cannot be neglected without damaging the assignment. Second, what should be strong? These deserve focused effort because they improve usefulness and credibility. Third, what may be improved later? Record those ideas, but do not permit them to kidnap the present deadline. You also need a stopping rule. When the defined purpose has been met, the essential checks are complete, the responsible standard has been reached, and the delivery time has arrived, stop revising. Deliver the work. Preserve your list of future refinements for the next cycle. And use proportion. A decision with serious consequences deserves careful verification. A reversible draft does not require the same level of examination. Wisdom does not give every task equal time. Wisdom gives each task the care its purpose and consequences require. Some of you are exhausted because you are treating every assignment as if one imperfect detail could destroy your destiny. It cannot. Guard what matters. Verify what carries consequence. Strengthen what serves the purpose. Then finish. A clear boundary protects craftsmanship because it makes quality visible. It protects dependability because it makes delivery accountable. It protects growth because it allows one version to finish and the next version to become better. So define the outcome. Name the essentials. Limit the enhancements. Set the deadline. Establish the stopping rule. Quality must have structure. A standard without a finish line is not discipline. It is indefinite delay wearing the clothes of discipline. But once the standard is defined, excellence no longer has to depend on how confident, inspired, or anxious you feel. It can become a repeatable practice rather than an anxious mood. Excellence is not a single performance. It is a continuing rhythm. No one movement is the whole process, and no stage should be allowed to consume the others. The rhythm has 5 movements: prepare, complete, evaluate, correct, and grow. First, prepare. Understand the purpose before you begin. Gather what is necessary, not everything that could possibly be gathered. Practice the demanding parts. Identify the people the work must serve. Define the responsible standard and the delivery point. Preparation gives action strength, but preparation must know when its work is done. Second, complete. This is where intention becomes responsibility. Stop adding unnecessary conditions. Make the decision. Submit the work. Deliver the service. Finish the conversation. Close the commitment. Completion does not claim that nothing could ever improve. It declares that the present assignment has reached its responsible finish line. Third, evaluate. Compare the result with the purpose. Did it accomplish what it was meant to accomplish? What worked? What created confusion? What failed under actual use? Do not evaluate only by how embarrassed, excited, or disappointed you feel. Emotion is real, but it is not the complete evidence. Examine performance. Fourth, correct. Choose the changes that matter most. Repair what can be repaired. Strengthen what was weak. Remove what distracted from the purpose. But refuse the drama that turns one weakness into a verdict on everything. A mistake is specific. Treat it specifically. Fifth, grow. Correction must become development. Turn the lesson into a stronger method, a deeper skill, clearer judgment, or a better standard for the next cycle. If you discover something but change nothing, you have collected information without receiving instruction. Imagine someone preparing a presentation for a team. She defines the purpose, organizes the essential message, practices the difficult section, and delivers it. That is preparation and completion. Afterward, she notices that the opening was clear, but the final instructions cause confusion. That is evaluation. She simplifies the instructions and adds one practical example. That is correction. The next time she presents, her communication is stronger because the lesson has entered her method. That is growth. Now notice the danger of becoming trapped. Preparation without completion becomes avoidance. Completion without evaluation becomes repetition. Evaluation without correction becomes criticism. Correction without renewed action becomes regret. Every movement must lead to the next. This cycle reduces fear because mystery loses power when experience produces information. Each time you complete the rhythm, you know more about the assignment, more about your ability, and more about what development requires. Competence grows. Judgment matures. Confidence gains evidence. So remember the sequence. Prepare, complete, evaluate, correct, grow. Do not merely admire it. Practice it. When anxiety rises, return to the movement in front of you. If you are preparing, define enough. If you are completing, stop adding conditions. If you are evaluating, seek truth. If you are correcting, make the change. If you are growing, begin again at a higher level. That is excellence. Not vague pressure to be flawless, but ordered action that keeps producing development. Yet the most emotionally difficult movement is correction, because many people do not merely receive feedback about their work. They hear a judgment about themselves. This is the mistaken equation. If my work needs correction, then I am a failure. No. Your worth, your present performance, and your future capacity are not the same thing. Your worth is not erased by an imperfect result. Your present performance simply reveals your present level in a particular assignment. Your future capacity describes what can be developed through instruction, practice, correction, and continued service. When you collapse these three into one, every comment feels like an attack, and every weakness feels final. But correction is not evidence that potential is absent. Correction is evidence that potential deserves development. If nobody may examine your habits, your ability remains undisciplined. If nobody may question your method, your judgment remains untested. If nobody may identify a weakness, the people you serve may continue receiving less than you are capable of giving. Condemnation attacks identity and closes the future. It says this is what you are, and nothing can change. Correction identifies a gap and directs the next action. It says this part is unclear, this method is weak, this result missed its purpose. Here is what can improve. One destroys agency, the other restores it. So learn how to receive feedback with discipline. Listen fully before defending yourself. Identify what is specific rather than reacting to a general feeling of embarrassment. Test what is useful against the purpose of the assignment. Reject what is merely hostile or irrelevant without rejecting every uncomfortable truth. Then act on the clearest improvement. Not all feedback is wise, but defensiveness is not discernment. When shame rises, pause. When you feel the urge to withdraw, examine it. When one criticism makes you want to abandon the entire assignment, refuse that exaggeration. A weakness in the work is not a sentence upon your life. Seek trustworthy evaluation before fear invents an imaginary audience more severe than reality. Ask people who understand the purpose, respect the responsibility, and are willing to tell you the truth without trying to diminish you. Give them focused questions. Receive specific answers. Make useful corrections. Mature excellence can hold two truths at once. The work mattered and the work can become better. You can honor what you completed without worshiping it. You can correct what was weak without despising yourself. Receive instruction. Protect your dignity. Strengthen your contribution. Continue the assignment. When correction no longer threatens your identity, you no longer need to hide unfinished work for emotional safety. Then this principle can leave the realm of theory and enter the ordinary places where perfectionism quietly delays your daily life. Perfectionism does not always announce itself. It hides inside ordinary responsibilities and calls itself caution. A creator keeps revising but never publishes. Every week brings another adjustment, another sentence, another reason the work is not ready. The answer is not reckless release. Define the audience. Clarify the purpose. Meet the responsible standard. Publish. Then learn from how the work is actually received. Ask the questions. What is the assignment? What standard makes it responsible? What fear is demanding another delay? What can be completed now? A leader delays a decision while searching for impossible certainty. More information may be useful, but information can also become a hiding place. Gather what is essential. Identify the real risks. Distinguish what can be reversed from what carries lasting consequence. Decide. Then review the outcome and adjust. Again, what is the assignment? What is the responsible standard? What fear is demanding delay? What can be completed now? A learner waits to feel confident before practicing where others can observe. But confidence often follows responsible action. It does not always precede it. Prepare within a time boundary. Perform at your present level. Let mistakes expose the next skill that must be developed. A person postpones an important conversation because every sentence cannot be guaranteed to land perfectly. Yet silence is also a decision, and delay has consequences. Clarify the purpose. Choose respectful words. Speak honestly. Listen carefully. Correct what is misunderstood. You do not need control over every reaction to take responsibility for your communication. And then there are the routine duties. The application never submitted, the room never organized, the plan never started, the promise never completed. Elaborate systems are designed. New tools are collected. Schedules are rewritten. But the first useful action remains untouched. Planning that never produces movement is decorated procrastination. The circumstances change, but the governing contrast remains the same. Stewardship asks how to serve the purpose responsibly. Image protection asks how to avoid discomfort, uncertainty, and visible imperfection. So catch the pattern where it lives. Name the assignment. Define the standard. Identify the fear. Complete the next responsible action. Do not wait for perfectionism to disappear before you move. Interrupt it through movement. Every responsible completion weakens its authority and strengthens your capacity to serve. But recognition must now become a decision, because insight that never enters your calendar can become another form of preparation without completion. Now choose one unfinished assignment, not 5. Not every neglected area of your life. Perfectionism often responds to correction by creating an enormous plan that cannot be completed. Refuse that trap. Choose one meaningful piece of work that can move from preparation to delivery within the next 7 days. Define its purpose in one sentence. What must this work accomplish? Who must it serve? Why does completion matter? If you cannot state the purpose clearly, you will not know which improvements are essential and which are merely attractive distractions. Next, define the responsible minimum standard. List what must be present for the work to be accurate, useful, clear, and responsible. Then create a separate list called later improvements. Put every optional enhancement there. Do not discard those ideas, but do not allow them to delay the present assignment. Now choose a real delivery point within the next 7 days. Give it a day and a time. If the work cannot be completed responsibly by then, reduce the scope. Do not immediately extend the deadline. A smaller finished assignment can teach you more than a magnificent plan that remains untouched. Schedule preparation blocks and give each block a defined result. Do not write work on the project. Write, complete the opening, review the essential facts, practice the presentation, or prepare the final version. Time without an output can expand indefinitely. Defined work creates accountability. Before delivery, use a short checklist. Is it accurate enough for its purpose? Is it useful to the person receiving it? Is it clear enough to act upon? Is it responsible in its consequences? If the answer is yes, honor the finish line. When the delivery point arrives, stop revising. Send it. Submit it. Publish it. Decide. Present. Begin the conversation. Close the commitment. Completion requires a moment when preparation loses permission to continue. Then arrange one source of relevant feedback. Ask focused questions. What was useful? What was unclear? What single improvement would create the greatest value next time? Do not ask for a verdict on your worth. Ask for information about the assignment. After delivery, evaluate briefly. What worked? What did not? What did you learn? What one correction will enter the next attempt? Then begin the next cycle promptly. Evaluation must produce development, not rumination. And if you miss the deadline, do not hide. Do not abandon the assignment. Do not build another elaborate system to explain the failure. Acknowledge the miss. Reduce the scope. Set the next responsible delivery point. Resume. For 7 days, practice the cycle on one assignment. Produce evidence that you can prepare, finish, receive feedback, correct, and continue. Momentum is built by completed responsibility. The method is now clear. What remains is a decision about identity. Whether you will continue protecting the image of perfection or become a faithful steward who acts. Listen carefully. You are not being released from responsibility. You are being released from the false belief that responsibility requires flawlessness. The standard is not perfection, but faithfulness. Not endless preparation, but responsible completion. Not protection of your image, but release of useful value. Not condemnation when weakness appears, but correction that develops your capacity. Perhaps delay became your protection. Perhaps hiding felt safer than being evaluated. Perhaps moving the finish line kept you from facing what you feared. Acknowledge it without allowing it to govern another season. What protected you yesterday may imprison your purpose today. Stop moving the finish line. Start defining the standard. Stop hiding potential. Start delivering value. Stop fearing correction. Start using it. Stop waiting for confidence. Start building competence. What is the assignment you have chosen? Can you state its purpose in one sentence? What must be present for it to be responsible? What can be postponed until the next version? When exactly will you deliver it? Do not answer those questions with inspiration. Answer them with a decision. Prepare with discipline. Gather what is necessary. Practice what is demanding. Protect the purpose. Complete with courage. Honor the standard. Honor the deadline. Release the work. Evaluate with honesty. Examine the result, not your worth. Listen for what reality can teach you. Correct with humility. Repair what matters. Strengthen what was weak. Refuse both defensiveness and shame. Grow with consistency. Carry the lesson into the next attempt. Begin again wiser, clearer, and more capable. You are not promised that every audience will applaud or that every result will succeed exactly as imagined. But repeated, faithful completion will develop greater skill. It will produce stronger judgment. It will deepen your usefulness and increase your capacity to serve. That is how potential becomes contribution. That is how fear loses its mystery. That is how procrastination is broken, not by waiting for a perfect feeling, but by practicing responsible action. Excellence is not the performance of being perfect. It is the disciplined stewardship of becoming more useful. Now return to the unfinished assignment. Define the next responsible action. Put it on the calendar. Prepare. Complete. Evaluate. Correct. Grow. Stop protecting the image. Start stewarding the gift.